The Austin A-List represents some of Austin's most visionary founders and enterprising companies. These entrepreneurs and teams develop innovative technologies and business models that have the potential to create market shifts in their respective industries.
Hello, everybody. My name is Will Coombs, and it's good to see you all again. If you were here with us yesterday, welcome back. And if you're just joining us, I think you're in for a real surprise today. My name is Will Coombs, and I'm Global Head of Core Design for Visa, and I'm thrilled to be with you again today. Yesterday, we were privileged to hear an amazing keynote presentation from an iconic Austin entrepreneur, Kendra Scott. And we also learned the winners of the A-List Awards in Tech and Innovation for companies with 11 to 50 employees. And we got to see the winner of the Spotlight Awards. You can see a recap of yesterday's award winners on your screen. You know, I was struck yesterday as a practitioner of human-centered design on a daily basis. It was really refreshing to hear our panel of local leaders who use this opportunity to refocus on the people behind their companies and really seek this as a way to look at the workforce of the future and how you re-engage and re-energize a workforce. If you weren't able to join that first session, keep an eye on the Chamber website for recordings from the entire series. Today, we have an equally impressive group of speakers lined up for you, and we'll hear the winners of the Tech and Innovation Awards for mid-sized companies with 51 to 199 employees. It is now my great pleasure to introduce Lee Christie, Senior Vice President of Global Technology and Innovation with the Austin Chamber. Take it away, Lee.
Hey, Will, thank you so much for that kind introduction. And hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our 9th Annual A-List Awards. This event is brought to you by a partnership with Austin Chamber and South by Southwest. Though we don't have the opportunity to be together today at ACL Live Moody Theater, we're thrilled to launch this awards program virtually. It highlights and celebrates our local tech and innovative companies, and it's anchored by timely conversations with exceptional local leaders. A-list companies exemplify what makes Austin unique, a collaborative economy that attracts talent from around the globe who want to be part of something big. So thank you for joining us as we showcase entrepreneurs, founders, and companies that are driving technology and innovation. I'd also like to share a little bit about the Chamber. I've had the privilege of working with this passionate and phenomenal team for the past 3 years. The Chamber's driving mission and focus is widespread economic health in the Austin region. The Chamber helps create and support an environment that attracts skilled employees, allows businesses to grow. Our mission is Austin, and we are so excited that you're joining us today. I'm looking forward to hearing from our panel as these leaders share with you what they have done to remain innovative, to adapt and remain creative, to engage and focus, and most importantly, to lead. And I'm especially excited to learn more about this year's honorees and our award recipients. I now want to thank our generous sponsors who truly have helped us launch this year's A-List event. They've made it possible to do this during challenging times. Their commitment to our year celebration reflects the unique collaborative spirit we have in Austin's tech and innovation community. So first, thank you to our presenting sponsor, Visa. Our reception sponsor, Deloitte. Next to our speaker sponsor, the Toronto Stock Exchange. Presenting award sponsor, Google and Google Fiber. And I would also like to thank our award sponsors, Independence Title Company and Wells Fargo. Thank you so much again for supporting A-List and the Austin Chamber. And now I have the privilege to give a warm welcome to a friend and a colleague, Hugh Forrest. Hugh is the Chief Programming Officer of South by Southwest, and we're so thrilled to have you here today. Take it away, Hugh.
Thanks, Lee. Good morning. This is Hugh Forrest, and as Lee said, I'm the Chief Programming Officer at South by Southwest. South by Southwest has been honored to work with the Austin Chamber on Austin A-List for the last several years. We think it's a great fit because so much of the mission of Austin A-List in terms of recognizing outstanding creativity, innovation, and entrepreneurial passion aligns with the mission of South by Southwest. And speaking of South by Southwest, let me remind you that if you are interested in speaking at the 2021 event, the panel picker speaking proposal process is open until the end of the day on Friday, October 16th. Also, for all the entrepreneurs out there, please note that the application process for South by Southwest Pitch 2021 opens on Tuesday, October 20th. That application process for South by Southwest Pitch will stay open until Friday, January 8th. South by Southwest Pitch is our in-house startup competition. And over the years, we've had some fantastic companies as finalists, ranging from Siri to current Austin buzz startups like Icon and Tanky. Find out more about the South by Southwest panel picker and about South by Southwest Pitch and everything else planned for South by Southwest Online 2021 at www.sxsw.com, or you can always just email me at hugh@sxsw.com. Now back to this morning's activities. As Will mentioned, yesterday we had a fantastic session about innovating during challenging times. That session featured some really great insights from some of the city's top business minds. I think the two sessions that we have planned for today are going to be equally compelling. The first of these two sessions is titled Leading Through Adversity and Our Path Forward. But before we introduce the speakers on this morning's session, let's watch this short video with some insightful thoughts from a handful of Austin's top entrepreneurial leaders.
Adversity is nothing new for Austin's innovation economy, even as we operate through a crisis unlike any we've experienced in our lifetimes. Leaders have been called to balance organizational objectives and shifts, to consider the well-being of their team members, and to address tough questions and issues in the workplace and community. How do leaders cultivate a great company culture during unprecedented times?
Fantastic. And as you heard from our local leaders and innovators in that video, creating a healthy company culture is key to building a team that can lean on one another during times of adversity. Communication is an essential tool to building connection, empathy, and courage within a team in order to focus and create a path forward with passion and with purpose. I can't wait for you to hear this authentic conversation among a group of leaders who have shown up in the face of adversity for our community and the teams they serve. We hope that this conversation sparks energy and thoughtful for all innovators, leaders, and teams. So with that, I'd like to welcome Daniel Lucio with Google to dive into this really important conversation.
Hey, y'all. Daniel Lucio with Google. We're thrilled to be here today for A-List 2020. Google and Google Fiber have recognized that this time away from our traditional workplaces has forced us to examine technology and connectivity in an even greater sense. In fact, it may push us to discover technology advances at an even greater pace than we have been before, as we're forced to reimagine things, how to stay connected with each other, how to exercise our bodies and our minds, how to support everyone at home using one Wi-Fi hotspot. I'm very excited to hear from our outstanding panelists about how they're approaching these challenges in our time. So let's get to it. Leading the discussion today is Linda Ginac, CEO of TalentGuard. We also have Robert Alvarez with BigCommerce, Dr. Colette Burnette, CEO and president of Huston-Tillotson University, and Tyson Tuttle with Silicon Labs. And I'm going to hand it over to Linda to kick us off.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here and sharing this eventful day with everyone. Leading through challenge is never easy, but it can open doors to new horizons. It can create much stronger leadership traits and foster incredible resilience. And today we're going to hear from leaders who will share their wisdom for weathering the storm to elevate their companies and their teams forward. And what I'd like to do first is have each of the panelists introduce themselves, and we'll start with Robert.
Hi, everyone. I'm Robert Alvarez. I'm the CFO of BigCommerce.
Dr. Burnette.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Colette Burnette. I have the gift of serving as the president and CEO of Huston-Tillotson University.
Excellent. Tyson.
Good morning, everybody. Tyson Tuttle, CEO down at Silicon Labs downtown, although we're all working virtually these days for the most part, and look forward to the conversation. Thank you for having us on.
Excellent. Awesome. So we have some great questions that we'd like to pose to you and get your thoughts and observations. I'll start with you, Robert. What does it take to lead a team through timely events and conversations?
You know, if 2020's taught us anything, it's I think you got to lead with a lot of empathy and compassion. Like if I think about all the events that's transpired since January, I think any company will attest to the fact that they've had to look at themselves in the mirror and really assess their culture. And I can tell you a great culture matters a ton when times are good. A great culture is a must-have, you know, when times are tough. And I know for us, for BigCommerce, it's not just COVID, but you know, we had to go through our own journey with DEI. It's a great example. Like we thought we were pretty good, but you know, I can tell you that the bar for diversity, equity, and inclusion this year, whether you were a 7 or 8 out of 10 last year, what I do know is the bar for the 10 went way up this year, and it's going to continue to go up. And we've had to have some really heartfelt conversations. And I'll just share a story. I was having a one-on-one with an employee, and I was sharing my own story. We have a multiracial family where we're raising multiracial kids, and I was sharing my story with him, and I recognized the fact that I was only going halfway with the story. And I thought about it that night, and I thought to myself, you know, if we're expecting our employees to have tough, critical conversations, to be vulnerable enough, to have the courage enough to share their stories, why did I go halfway? I was really hard on myself. So the very next day we had a global all hands for all of our employees. And I'm really glad I had that conversation the day before, because at that global all hands, I decided, you know what, I'm going to go all the way. I'm going to share my story, my family history, my story with my wife, and how we're trying to raise our kids. And I went all the way. And I think for all of us, if we expect our teammates and our employees to be vulnerable and really lean into these tough, critical conversations, then we have to be willing to do that too. So vulnerability, I think, is huge. I think empathy and compassion are top of the list, and actions speak louder than words. So that would be my advice.
Thank you, Robert. Yeah, that's that vulnerability is certainly important, and taking a chance and putting it out there and having people respond and react. How about?
I've never been more nervous for a global all hands than that one, by the way.
Yeah, I bet. Dr. Burnette, do you have any thoughts to add to what Robert shared?
I think Robert is in my head reading my mind, because vulnerability has been a key word for me and many things. I think it shows our humanity when we're vulnerable and do not act robotic as leaders without compassion for the people that we serve. And what vulnerability does, it forces you to embrace the challenge and to recognize our own mortality and our own vulnerabilities, not just as individuals, but as the collective, and also the vulnerability of the institutions that we lead, the mission. And for in my case with Huston-Tillotson, this pandemic has compounded the vulnerabilities of my people. And that has been something that has really reinforced our mission. So when we think about what it takes to lead through these moments, is to stay focused on the mission and realize that there are people behind this mission. Sometimes as leaders, we forget that we're leading humans, and that we're making decisions that impact human lives. And when you embrace your vulnerability, that reminds you of your own humanity and how you are actually responsible for people's, for their livelihood. And the decisions that you make can drastically impact their livelihood. And in my case, with 1,100 students, the decisions that we make drastically impacts this chapter of their lives. So I can't emphasize that enough. And we used to look at vulnerability as a weakness. I do not believe that it is a weakness by any means, because the more people see that you too have a life, and you too, we all worry about something, we all have a fear, we all love something, we're all afraid of something, that makes it more relatable and build teams. And we know that we find our strength through the strength of a team.
Awesome. Yeah, it's amazing letting those emotions in and embracing that and allowing people to work through it has been very powerful. We've seen that also at TalentGuard. Tyson, do you have some thoughts you'd like to add in addition?
It has been certainly a year of change, and starting at the beginning of the year with the pandemic and seeing we're a global company, so we have people all over the world. We have 12 design sites and people in China and a lot of things going on, and just navigating through, as the pandemic rolled out and going to work from home, and all the challenges that people were facing in terms of having to figure out how to make stuff work and get connected. And we had all the collaboration tools in place, but once the reality of what was setting in, that concept of empathy and listening and making sure that you're there to provide things that people are going to need. And then everybody is really dealing with a lot of uncertainty. It's what's going to happen to the economy, what's going to happen to my job, how am I going to manage through, the kids are, going virtual, and things were changing just very, very fast. And, I think that it's really important when you go into something like this, that you have a strong culture. And our culture is very much about open communication and transparency and making sure that, you're giving as much information as you can. And it's like, here's what I know, here's what I don't know. We went to weekly town halls where we got it together every Monday morning, and just a lot of conversations of how we're gonna deal with things. So we have a global supply chain, so we have suppliers all over the world, and there were factories being closed. We had customers that you're trying to support, and not just with products, but with new designs, and having to figure out how to do that virtually instead of getting on a plane and going. How to keep product development on track, and projects, and learn how to do things in a new way. And it's like, I'm so proud of I think when you talk about innovation, it's not just adapting to the change, but it's also figuring out new ways of doing things. And I think we'll probably get into some of that later in the discussion, but there's been a lot of learning, and there still is a lot of learning going on as to how do we do things more efficiently. And like one of the really great things for us has been, about half of our employees are here in Austin, and all of a sudden we were all in a little box on the screen, and it kind of democratized things. No matter where you were, we're not commuting as much. And there's this flywheel of culture that you have, that, you know each other, how things work. And then as new people come in, we've hired a number of people. We did an acquisition in the middle of this in April of a 200-person company in India, and completely virtual. And, usually you would be there and figuring out how to do a lot of these things. And then leading people through that, and listening, and just that things are going to be different coming out of this on the other side. The markets are going to be different. There's so much change, and how do you really pull together to make all that come together? It's been fun, but it's definitely been a real journey. It's still on it.
Well, you mentioned, I think, a key word there, which is uncertainty. And, you started to talk a little bit about how you're embracing it through town hall. So I'd like to spend a little bit more time digging in to that area. Dr. Burnette, maybe you could start to talk about, like, how have you worked with your team and the students to embrace uncertainty when we've been remote, we're not sure when we're going back. There's just a lot of challenges that we need to overcome as teams. And how have you approached that?
The first thing is to admit the uncertainty, to say, I don't know, and to be okay with that, and to say, but, we're learning, and we're learning this together. Higher ed is not known to react to change very rapidly. We're like an ocean liner. We don't make a hard right turn. Mm-hmm. And this pandemic forced us into a hard right turn with a lot of uncertainty. And I really appreciate the word Tyson used, proud, because I am really super proud of my campus. We went virtual within 2 weeks. Our faculty asked for we were on spring break. Our faculty asked for a week of planning to convert their curriculums to online. And we had already began building the infrastructure to be online, testing it. And that test all of a suddenly, almost within 7 days, turned into reality. And that's scary. And there's a lot of uncertainties there. And we did it. We had some bumps in the road, naturally. We are not an online school. We're a very touchy-feely school. So it's we're a very warm environment. That's our culture, who we are as a campus. So that was very, very uncertain. And we went into it being uncertain. And another thing is, I've found as the leader, which has helped me tremendously, is to make the decision what's best for my campus, for my environment. Get all the information that you can gather. But when I try to do what others are doing without being conscientious of my own campus, the culture of my own campus, I'm not helping my campus. Yeah. And that uncertainty, 3 of the hardest decisions that I have made in my entire professional career have been in the last 8 months. It was the uncertainty of postponing commencement, because commencement is a rite of passage. We graduate families, not individuals. And opening the campus up for the march, the Black Lives Matter march, with the rally, and then to go totally virtual online, knowing that we would lose revenue. But it was the best decision. And you only know in hindsight, they were all good decisions, thank God. But you only know that in hindsight, being 2020.
Yeah.
You move forward with that uncertainty, and you follow your moral compass, and just pray for the best.
Well, we're very proud of you. That's certainly a challenge. Robert, how have you worked with your team to really help them embrace this uncertainty?
Well, Dr. Burnette, it's hard to follow on that. But, we, in hindsight for us, we just tried to communicate. As we got information, we really tried to make sure that we were very transparent and shared a lot of the information. Look, there's no playbook for a lot of the things that we're going through and a lot of folks are going through this year. Mm-hmm. And so I think it was really important for us, whenever we made a decision, to explain the why behind the decision, share with our teams the information that we had to make those decisions, and just make sure that they understand that it's fluid, right? That some of these things that we're going through is fluid, and things are going to change. And the commitment we made was we're going to be transparent. We're going to share all the information with you, and we're going to make sure that we explain the why, so that everybody understands. And then they could put themselves in our shoes, just like we need to put ourselves in their shoes. And that's where I think empathy is probably the highest value of the list for anything, for any teams this year. A lot of grace is shown when you can put yourself in another person's shoes. And if you're sharing information and you're explaining the rationale or the reasons why you're having to make decisions, then I think people are very empathetic, and they understand, and they can get behind some of the decisions that we had to make. But I wish there was a playbook for it. There's just not.
Yeah. Tyson, you mentioned something earlier about innovation and continuing to innovate, especially as a global brand with a big product portfolio. What do you think is the one or two things that have enabled your team to continue to innovate during this time?
Well, I think one of the things with what's going on right now is that it's changing the way we're working, and that's different now, and it's going to be different at the end. But also the markets that we're operating in, whatever business you have, the disruption and the pace of change is really off the charts. And just as leaders, you have to really think through what's not going to work in the future, and what are the opportunities that we have sitting in front of us that we need to capture, and then how do you get everyone to understand how that reality has changed, and to shift gears, or to move in a certain direction and do things in a different way, or go after a different type of product. I think that just across the economy, that a lot of the trends that were happening have been accelerated. For instance, we're in the Internet of Things and all these connected devices, whether it's personal, medical, or smart home, or smart buildings, and that's probably an even bigger opportunity for us going forward. In 5G and communications and all of those things. Education is going to change. All these retail is going to change. Events. We had scheduled a 1,200 person conference on the smart home. It was called Works With in September, and we were like, oh, we're going to have to cancel this. And they were, no, we can't. This is so important that we're going through all this stuff, and we ended up moving it to virtual. And I congratulate A-List and the Chamber for actually being able to have this. But we went to online and virtual. We brought all the panelists in. We ended up giving up revenue because we're like, all right, well, let's just make it free and get people to come in. But we ended up with, instead of 1,200 people, we had over 6,000 people attend these conferences, and at Google and Apple and Amazon and a lot of different companies come in, and people participated from all over the world. So it's like, that's an opportunity to reach people that you weren't able to reach before, and to get more momentum and build your brand and build awareness of what's going on. And that wouldn't have happened. And I don't think it's going to go back. It'll be a hybrid next time. And CES is going to be virtual this year. And so the change in the markets and the way that we're thinking about, products and innovation, and, you have to be really agile right now, and really thinking, and that involves a lot of communication and brainstorming. And it's hard when you're not able to sit in a room and to be able to, to really have those tough conversations. And, the dynamic is different when you're virtual, but we're trying to learn through that. So.
Thank you. Yeah, on that virtual theme, Robert, how do you go through the motions of making everyone feel a sense of purpose, when it's really hard to reach out and touch someone online?
Yeah, it's a great question. We're very lucky in that there's a lot of purpose behind what we do. If you think about BigCommerce, we help companies sell their products successfully online. And I'll tell you, in early March, everyone at BigCommerce was asking, we were asking each other, what can we do to help? Let's rally around our merchants. Let's figure out ways where they could use our product to survive this. And we quickly went to market with an offering leveraging not just our products, but our partners' products. And we helped a ton of merchants. And nothing fills our cup more or fuels our fire more when we hear from our merchants that not only did they survive, but a lot of them are thriving because their e-commerce volume has gone up. And when you find something in your business that is personal, and you can remind everybody that the purpose behind what you're doing, it's very powerful. And I think you can get through a lot of uncertainty when you whether it's your North Star that's tied to a value, or whether it's, hey, let's just remember why we're here, why we're doing this. And then also just share perspective around, I mean, perspective is so powerful. And so when you think about your business, when you can highlight the things about your business that resonate with people on a very personal level, it's a needle mover. And then just share perspective. Look, there's I know this has been a tough year for a lot of folks, but there's also silver linings all over the place. I mean, if you look at things glass half full, you're going to see certain things that you're not going to see if you're looking at things glass half empty. And for us at BigCommerce, there's definitely been some silver linings, and there's been, merchant after merchant after merchant that gives us the feedback that really fuels our fire and says, wow, our business is personal. What we do really matters.
I think that a lot of us are really lucky that our businesses are thriving, or we're able to manage through working from home, or that we can do our jobs. I think that and we talked about empathy earlier, and and a lot of the DEI initiatives, and there's a lot of people out there struggling right now, and so we've doubled our philanthropy budget, and we usually give away 1%. Now we're giving away almost 2% of our profits, and we've had tons of people volunteer and getting involved in the community in a lot of different ways. And this has been global, whether it's, we did a program where we gave everyone a little bit of money to go out and go to a local merchant. And just, to the extent that we can help people, being able to help retailers or merchants get online, or to adapt to the new reality and to make it through the tough time. I think that, when you think about, the entire team, everybody wants to help. Everybody wants to, and a lot of the stuff that's going on is really raw right now.
Yeah.
In terms of what's going on race, or in the economy, or, in the political environment, and in our world, it's like trade and immigration, and there's, and change is happening so fast. And so leading is, you've got to lead your customers, you've got to lead your employees, and you've got to help to lead your community through this. And the points of hope, or the things that are going well. I think it's important for people to understand that there is hope, and that there is going to be change, but it's going to take everybody, as leaders in the business community and in the startups to get us to the other side, because it's going to be different, and there's going to be a lot of people that are left behind that have to, everybody's going to have to adapt and change to this new reality.
Yeah. Dr. Burnette, you said something earlier, and I think it's so awesome, which is you're not only graduating students, you're graduating families, and the whole hope around that. And so, you have this dynamic where you have to, motivate your team with a sense of purpose, but also those students and the students' families. How do you work through that challenge as a leader?
Day by day, moment by moment. This has compounded our purpose, because education is the great equalizer. And those who we see suffering are generally those who have not had the advantage and the opportunity to have higher education, or to have K-12, post K-12 education. So that has compounded our purpose. And I continually remind myself and the campus of that. And for our students, we keep reminding them that this is temporary. Now, how long temporary is yet to be seen. But this is temporary. It's not defining who we are. And it's making us a much stronger university through this. Every crisis brings bright spots, and it brings pain points. So we want to focus on the bright spots and learn from the pain points. So it's a reminder of that purpose of why you show up every day, why you choose to work at a university, why you choose to work at a historically Black university, understanding the demographics of the students that we serve, and reminding ourselves that we are responsible for their journey. And I also tell my students can't afford to take a gap year. This is not the time to step back, because crises don't make you who you are, they reveal who you are. and how you, even as leaders, they don't make you a good leader, they reveal what kind of leader you are. And the more you lean into those bright spots and becoming stronger on a event by event, because we are all learning, we're all growing together. And I tell our students, you're like historic, like the seniors that didn't get to celebrate their commencement. They will have a commencement. We will celebrate them. And I said, you're historic. You will never forget the spring term of your 2020, of your senior year. That sounds crazy now, but we have some graduates that came back that graduated in 1964. And it was a tumultuous year for them. But when they come back, the memories that they have from that time are very different than those that graduated in 74 or 84. Because it's a bonding moment. It's truly a moment. And I also have to remind people that this institution is 145 years old. We survived Jim Crow laws. We made it through the civil rights movement, the changes in East Austin. This is another movement towards the grit and the resilience that we know we have as an institution. And now we are a part of that history. And I also remind them that we're very fortunate to have the technology that we have at this time. Yeah. I mean, how many times have I said, you're on mute, ma'am, or you're on mute, sir? But this technology is a gift at this time, because it has allowed us to do the things that my colleagues have been sharing. And students, they recognize that.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. And you said something that's resonated with me, and that's that leaders begin to reveal themselves, especially through times of adversity. Maybe Tyson, can you share a story of something that you've been super proud of, that your team has really stepped up to the plate and demonstrated during this time? And I'll have that for each of the panels.
Gosh, there's so many different examples. We talked about the virtual event, managing through, supply chain disruptions, or figuring out how to, to manage through, customer activities, or to rally together to get, a product out the door and to keep the momentum there. There's so many examples. I mean, I said earlier how proud I was of the team for managing through this. So it's not one thing, it's thousands of things that have happened, to be able to keep things going and adapting to the new reality. And, trying to figure out where all this is going, and how do we maximize that opportunity and bring as many people along. So it's not just one thing, it's a lot.
Right. How about for you, Robert? Does something stand out in particular?
The list is long. Gosh, we're so blessed, so grateful for the quality of human beings that we have at BigCommerce, not just in Austin, but across our locations. We look, not just when we recruit people, we don't just look at their resume or experience. We really try to peel the onion back on their values and their beliefs, and these intangibles that we're talking about, the intangibles that we as a company hold in very high regard, like empathy, like being selfless. We like to say we look for people who are ambitious, very ambitious in their thinking, but have this beautiful degree of humility about them to learn from one another and help one another. But I'll say that probably the one thing I'm the most proud of is our, and we have a long way to go, but the journey that we've been on with diversity, equity, and inclusion. And it's been tough. And we had to look at ourselves in the mirror and recognize that we've got a long way to go to be good. And that bar keeps going up. And I had 450 ideas come from our employees on how we could get better. And employee after employee speaking up for their beliefs, or speaking up for other people who weren't able to speak up for themselves. And as accountable as they were holding us, I just thought it was beautiful that people were saying, you know what, I'm going to speak up. I'm not going to be quiet anymore. I'm going to share what I believe. And for folks that couldn't do that, we had other folks doing that for them. And you're talking about a very challenging time for a team and for a company built with people that care deeply about each other and care deeply about things that matter around them.
Mhm.
As tough as that's been, I'm just so grateful that we have a company built by people who do that. I'm very proud.
Yeah. How about for you, Dr. Burnette?
First of all, I want to thank Robert for those comments and for the persistence to make that change and to bring that in the culture and make it a core value, because I just personally appreciate that. For me, makes my heart swell up in my chest when I think about the people who work here and who go to school here. The depth of their love for the university has really lifted me. So I know my job is to lift them, but they have lifted me. We identified essential personnel back in March, clearly, and those people have come to campus and keep things going every day. And I really appreciate that. And the faculty in particular, where they had to learn how to be innovative and find technologies to simulate online biology classes. Our choir to be able to teach music, special technologies to do that, where they went and did that research and found those technologies, which we will take into post-pandemic, those kinds of things. So it's forced us into that. But just to be innovative and try to hold, and I'll take the word try out. I tell my students, there is no try. It's the great philosophy Yoda, you do or you do not. So we have embraced our students and keeping them connected to the university. Everything is online. Student life, everything is online. There's our labs, our tutoring, advising, everything. So it's just appreciating the people that have done that, and they didn't sit back and say, hey, this is a pandemic. And also appreciating that they have lives at the same time.
Yeah.
Like
awesome.
They're managing their children, they're managing health of loved ones, their own health. And that's in addition to working extra hard. And you just, as a leader, you cannot appreciate and say how grateful you are. There are no words really to express it, because we may be the leader, but it's the people around us that really do the hard, heavy lifting and help to lift us. And I'm really eternally grateful for those people.
Thank you. Well, we're getting at the top of our time, and I want to express my deep gratitude to Robert and Dr. Burnette and Tyson for sharing their experiences here today with everyone. As you can see, we're creating transformative resilience. We're using empathy and vulnerability and leaning in more than ever. I would suspect that people are looking at their values much more closely as their North Star, and probably updating and evolving those values to focus on the things that matter, that make people happy. And we just really need to come together as a community and continue to look forward. So thank you so much for sharing with us today. I'm sure that the audience would say that it was extremely insightful.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Linda. And a very sincere thank you to each of our speakers for an authentic and transparent conversation on leading through adversity. There's no doubt that this has been a stressful and challenging time for so many in our community. And it's also been a time when we've seen leaders emerge, inspire, teach, and care for our community. So thank you again to those speakers. Now it's time to present our A-list awards to technology and innovation companies with 51 to 99 employees. These awards are announced in no particular order, so we're going to go through them. Our first A-list award is the Helper Bees. The Helper Bees is an insure-tech company that helps people stay at home longer by relying on data-driven services that transform both the payer and the care recipient experience. So congrats to the Helper Bees. Keep up the great work. Our next A-list award is Dosh. Dosh is on a mission to positively impact people's lives financially by moving billions of dollars to millions of people. Its platform helps consumers earn cash back on purchases they would have made anyway. Brands and retailers can better attribute marketing spend, and fintech companies can offer Dosh's reward experience to stay top of wallet. Congratulations, Dosh. Keep up the great work. Up next is ActiveTrack. ActiveTrack is a workforce productivity and analytics software company that helps teams understand how people work, whether in the office or remotely. This company has more than 7,500 customers and over 100,000 users of its free version. So congrats to ActiveTrack. Keep up the great work. And now, congrats to our next A-List Award winner, Literati. Literati provides a unique try before you buy book club service to kids 12 and under. It recently expanded by offering book club subscriptions curated by luminaries, a collection of authors, intellectuals, and notable other figures. So congrats to Literati. Our fifth and final A-List Award winner category in this category is Alert Media. Alert Media's mission is to save lives and minimize loss by facilitating timely, accurate, and relevant communications when an emergency situation threatens personal safety and business continually. It offers emergency communication software and 24/7 monitoring service to thousands of organizations around the world. Congratulations, Alert Media. And congratulations to all our nominees and award winners today. Your creativity and passion are major assets to the Austin community. Thank you all.
Thanks so much, Daniel, for taking us through that. If you're not inspired by the leadership that we have within our community, I don't know what to tell you. It truly has been a remarkable hour with memorable speakers and an opportunity to honor some of our most innovative and technology-focused companies right here in Austin. I want to say thank you again to Linda Ginac, Dr. Colette Burnette, Robert Alvarez, and Tyson Tuttle. There is no doubt that we are a stronger community for your leadership. I also want to thank our judges who volunteered their time to help with the selection of these awards. We really appreciate everything that you've put into this. And I want to leave you with this. The words of Dr. Burnette, let's lean into the bright spots. That's what I'm taking away from this. That was a phenomenal message and something that I think can really help during these challenging times. Join us again today at 2 p.m. for our final panel of dynamic speakers and our final A-List Awards. We'll see you soon.